Hello, in this video I am going to explain how to answer the questions in the Edexcel GCSE Maths Paper 2 from June 2019, the Foundation tier. The purpose of this video is for your learning and understanding, not just the answers. There are of course other videos out there. Write 0.75 as a fraction. So here we're going to put our place value headings. So units, tenths and hundredths. So in other words, we have 75 hundredths. And for 1 mark, this is a perfectly fine answer. It hasn't said to simplify and therefore you do not need to. If you wish to, it is 3/4. But like I said, it's a 1 mark question. So 75 100ths is fine as a fraction. Write the following numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest. You could picture a number line here, so you could start from -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This helps you visualize which one is the smallest from the list given and then ordering all the way up to the biggest. So our smallest is -3, then we've got -1, then 0, then 2, and then 4. Just writing the numbers in order will get you the full mark. You do not need to draw out a number line. You just need to have it in the correct order. Write down 2 factors of 15. So you can do them in pairs, 1 and 15, or 3 and 5. You don't have to do them in pairs, so you could say 1 and 3, you could say 3 and 15. Any combination that has 2 of them will give you the 1 mark. Change 1,756 grams to kilograms. So I like to do it in a proportion kind of a setting. I know 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. I'm asked to convert 1,756 grams, and I need to work out what this number over here would equal. To go from 1,000 to 1, I need to divide by 1,000. So same direction, same operation, and the answer would be 1.756 kilograms. You just need to write the answer. You don't have to show how you got this one. Write the number 2 million in figures. So this is checking to see whether you understand place value. 2 million would be 2 followed by 6 zeros. It's worth grouping them in threes so you know you've got the right number of zeros. Dave goes into a cafe and buys 2 cups of coffee and a piece of cake. Each cup of coffee costs £2.75. The cake costs £2.90. Dave pays with a £10 note. He thinks he will get more than £1.50 in change. Is Dave correct? You must show how you get to your answer. Step 1, work out the total cost. So £2.75, add £2.75, that's the 2 coffees, add the £2.90, that's the cake, and that's £8.40. So that's how much everything costs, and that's 1 mark. We need to now work out his change. If he's paying with a £10 note, he has paid £10. So his change would be 10 subtract £8.40, and that's £1.60. Now that's our second mark. We need to justify everything now. So is Dave correct? Yes or no? Dave is correct. And now justify it, because £1.60 is more than £1.50. Make sure you set your working out very clearly. There are Y boats on a lake. there are 7 people in each boat. Write an expression in terms of y for the total number of people in the boats. So we have a y, lots of 7 people. So in other words, that's y multiplied by 7, but as an algebraic expression, that is 7y. And all you need to write for that 1 mark is 7y. Simplify a multiplied by b multiplied by 7. Remember, in algebra, we don't have the multiplication symbol and the number must go in the front. So we just need to write 7ab and that gets us 1 mark. If you want to, you can also write 7ba. Either answer is perfectly fine. You only need to write one of them. Simplify y multiplied by y multiplied by y. What they're looking for over here is y cubed. And that's the 1 mark answer. It is not 3y. Simplify fully. We need to cross out an e from the numerator and the denominator, and we can do that again. That's it for the e's because there isn't one in the numerator and denominator anymore. Move on to the f's. You've got one in the numerator and one in the denominator, and that's it. That gets us 1 mark. Then for the final mark, we need to say e over f, and that's the second mark. You must make sure that the examiner can see you've crossed out the variables. The pictogram shows information about the number of records sold in a shop on Monday and on Tuesday. Looking at the key, it says a circle represents 8 records. Write down the number of records sold on Monday. We have got 8, 8 and 8, so that is 3 lots of 8, and that gives us 24, and all you need to write is 24 for 1 mark. For Tuesday, we've got 8 and 8, and then 1/4 of a circle. 1/4 of 8 is 2. So we have 8, add 8, add 2, and that gives us 18. Again, we can just write 18 for that second mark. On Wednesday and on Thursday, a total of 36 records were sold. The number of records sold on Thursday was 8 times the number of records sold on Wednesday. Use this information to complete the pictogram. So we know that on Wednesday there were X number of records sold, and Thursday was 8 times X, so 8X. Now I know that collectively that is 36, and algebraically that is 9X is equal to 36. That there is my first mark. If I go on to solve that, I'm dividing by 9. I have X is equal to 4. For 8X, I need to do 8 multiplied by 4, which is 32. Now I have 2 marks. I now need to represent this on the pictogram. For 4, I need to draw half a circle, and that will be that. And then for the 32 records, I need to draw 4 full circles. And both of them together will get you the 3rd mark. Here are 3 symbols: less than, more than, and equals. Write one of these symbols in each box to make 4 true statements. We know that 14 is less than 21. 4 add 7 is 11. 103 subtract 92 is 11. So these two are equal to each other. 2 squared is 4. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. So these two are also equal to each other. We should know that -3 is more than -5. If you have all 4 of them correct, that is 2 marks. If you have 2 or 3 of them correct, you would get 1 mark. P is equal to 7R add 3Q. Work out the value of P when R is equal to 5 and Q is equal to -4. For the first mark, they want to see you have substituted. So you have done 7 multiplied by 5, add 3 multiplied by -4. You could write this as 7 times 5 like this, add 3 times a -4 like this, or you could say 35 add -12. Any one of those lines would get you 1 mark. Then for saying that P is equal to 23, you would get the second mark. Here is part of a train timetable. Graham gets to the station in Brighton at 7:15. Work out how many minutes he has to wait until 7:22. So this is a simple subtraction question, and they want to see that you've got 7 minutes. You can just write 7 minutes and that would get you the 1 mark. Part B, work out how long it will take the 7:22 train to get to London. So we're looking at this one over here. We need to work out how long it will take to get from 7:22 to 9 a.m. I'm going to draw somewhat of a number line. So I've got 7:22. I know that if I do plus 8 minutes, that will get me to 7:30. Then if I add 30 minutes, I would get to 8 o'clock. Then from 8 o'clock, I need to add 1 hour, and that would get me to 9 o'clock. This would get me 1 mark. For my second and final mark, I now need to say 1 hour, 38 minutes. And that will get me 2 marks in total. The diagram shows 9 identical squares inside a rectangle. The length of the rectangle is 12 centimeters. Work out the width of the rectangle. So let's start with what we know. We know the length. We know that within the length, we can fit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. So if we do 12 divided by 6, we get 2 centimeters. So the length of each square is 2 centimeters, and now I have 1 mark. For the width, we need to work out how many squares there are along the width. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we need to do 5 multiplied by 2, and that there is the second mark. And for saying it equals 10 centimeters is the third mark. Write the ratio 4.5 to 2.25 in the form n to 1. That means the second number has to be 1. For that to happen, we need to divide by 2.25. So we need to do that to the 4.5 as well. And you can just use your calculator. The answer is 2 to 1. And you would get a mark as long as you've written 2 to 1. A garden is in the shape of a rectangle, 90 meters by 60 meters. Flowers are grown in 40% of the garden. The rest of the garden is grass. Work out the area of the garden that is grass. So for the first step, we are going to work out the area of the garden. And it's a rectangle, so we need to do base times height. So we are going to do 90 multiplied by 60, and that's 5,400 square meters. That's 1 mark. For the second step and for the second mark, we need to know what percentage is covered by grass. It says the rest is grass. If it's the rest, we need to do 100%. subtract 40%, and that gives us 60%. Now we have 2 marks. Third step, we need to work out the area that is grass. So we need to work out 60% of the full area. So 60% of 5,400. So in our calculator, we can type in 0.6 multiplied by 5,400, and that would get me the third mark. And the final mark is for saying 3,240 square meters as our final answer. Again, remember to set your working out very clearly. 4 biased coins, A, B, C, and D are thrown. The probability that each coin will land on heads is shown in the table. So A is 0.33, B is 0.033, C is a third, which I will write as 0.333 recurring, and D is 30%, which I will write as 0.30. Part 1, which coin is least likely to land on heads? So which one is the smallest number? And that is 0.033. So all we need to write is B, and that will get us 1 mark. Part 2, which coin is most likely to land on heads? So now we need to find the biggest number, and that's this one over here, and that is C. And all you need to write is C, and you would get the second mark. Julie says the probability that coin C will land on heads is the same as the probability that the coin will land on tails. Is she correct? Give a reason for your answer. Because it's 1 mark, you must have a reason. So the answer is no, because the probability should be half for each one. Now the reason behind that is because 1/2 plus 1/2 is equal to 1, and it isn't. Or you could say something along the lines of 1/3 plus 1/3 does not equal 1. Or you could say if heads is 1/3, tails is 2/3, which are not the same. Any one of those reasons would get you the mark. Coin B is going to be thrown 4,000 times. Work out an estimate for the number of times coin B will land on heads. So we are focusing on this one over here. For a question like this, it's always frequency multiplied by probability. For us, it's 4,000 multiplied by 0.033. Now we have 1 mark. Type that into your calculator and you get 132, and that there is the second mark. There are 84 calories in 100 grams of banana. There are 87 calories in 100 grams of yogurt. Preeti has 60 grams of banana and 150 grams of yogurt for breakfast. Work out the total number of calories in this breakfast. Start with the banana. We're working with calories and grams. Start with what we know, so 84 calories in 100 grams. We are working it out for 60 grams. If I go across, I can't think of a nice number. I know I have a calculator, but even then, therefore I'm going to go downwards. I can't think of a nice number, not really, for 100 to 60. So I'm going to find a common factor. I'm going to use 10. I can use any common factor here. I'm going to divide by 10 to get to 10, and then multiply by 6. So I will do the same on the other side. I'm going to divide by 10, which is 8.4, and then multiply by 6, and that gets me 50.4. And that's my first mark. Then go on to the yogurt. Again, we're working with calories and grams. We know that 87 calories is from 100 grams. We're trying to work this out for 150 grams. I know that I can multiply by something to go from 100 to 150. I'm just going to do a quick calculation at the top. 150 divided by 100 is 1.5. That means 100 multiplied by 1.5 must be 150. Do the same on the other side. Multiply by 1.5, and that is 130.5. That's my second mark. My third mark is for trying to work out the total. For total, we need to add. And for writing this out, I have my third mark. My final mark is from saying 180.9 calories. So there's my fourth mark. Machine A and Machine B both make car parts. Machine A makes 6 parts every 10 minutes. Machine B makes 13 parts every 15 minutes. On Monday, Machine A makes parts for 12 hours. Machine B makes parts for 10 hours. Work out the total number of parts made by the two machines on Monday. Let's start with Machine A. We have parts and we have time. Start with what you know. So 6 parts every 10 minutes. If I now try and convert that to an hour, that's 60 minutes. So also known as 1 hour. I know that 10 multiplied by 6 gets me 60 minutes. Do the same on the other side. And now we have 36 parts per hour. That is 1 mark. The question though says Machine A makes parts for 12 hours. So we need to work it out for 12 hours. 1 multiplied by 12 is equal to 12 hours. Do the same on the other side, and that gets us 432 parts made by Machine A. That is now 2 marks. Go on to Machine B. Again, we've got parts and we've got time. We're told that Machine B makes 13 parts every 15 minutes. Again, convert that into 60 minutes, otherwise known as an hour. How do we go from 15 minutes to 60 minutes? We need to multiply by 4. Do the same on the other side. So 13 multiplied by 4 is 52. So Machine B makes 52 parts every hour, but the question says Machine B makes parts for 10 hours. So we need to work it out for 10 hours. Do 1 multiplied by 10 and do 52 multiplied by 10, and that is 520 parts made by Machine B. Now we have 3 marks. To work out the total, we need to add. So we need to do 432 add 520. And for getting an answer of 952, we have our final 4th mark. Here is a plan of a kitchen drawn to scale of 1 to 30. Sam is going to put a small table in the kitchen. The table has to be more than 150 centimeters from A and more than 150 centimeters from BC. Show by shading on the diagram the region where Sam can put the table. Of course, mine will not be to scale exactly, but I will attempt to show you how to get all the marks. To start with, let's work out the dimensions on the plan. So we have plan and we have real life. 1 centimetre on the plan is equal to 30 centimetres in real life. So starting with the first point, the 180 centimetres, I've got 180 centimetres. If I go backwards, I need to divide by 30. So I will do the same over here, and that gets me 6 centimetres. Do the same with the 150, put that under the real, and we're going in the same direction, same operation, divide by 30, and that gets us 5. So those are the two measurements we will be using. Because it says more than 180 centimetres from A, what we need to do is we need to get a pair of compasses, measure out 6 centimetres, put the point on the corner of A, draw an arc that is 6 centimetres from A. It says it has to be more than 180 centimetres, so we do not want this part. Moving on, it says more than 150 centimetres from BC. So go to B and measure out 5 centimetres. Go to C and measure out 5 centimetres. Join that up with a ruler. As you can see, mine's not accurate. And every point from the line BC should be 5 centimetres from this purple line. Again, it says it should be more than 150 centimetres from BC. So we do not want this side here. All of this side is less than 5 centimetres from BC. So the part that we're shading in is everything that doesn't have an X in it, and that's this part over there. You must remember to be accurate with your compass and your ruler and your measuring. For this question, you would get 1 mark for converting your measurements into 6 centimetres and or your 5 centimetres. So that's 1 mark. You get a second mark for drawing the arc. You get a third mark for drawing the straight line away from BC. And you get a fourth mark for shading in the correct region. Solve 14n is more than 11n add 6. We need to make sure n is only on one side. So for the first mark, we need to subtract 11n from both sides. That gets us 3n is more than 6. Then we're going to divide by 3. So far, we only have 1 mark. Now, because I've written n is more than 2, I will get my second mark. If by accident you have written n is equal to 2, you would get 1 mark and not 2. On the number line below, show the set of values of x for which -2 is less than x add 3, which is less than or equal to 4. So we need to solve this first. We need to subtract 3 from all parts. And by doing that, we have our first mark. We've got -5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. That there would get us our first mark. Because x is more than -5, it is an empty circle. X is less than or equal to 1, so it needs to be a filled-in circle. Having each part correct will get you the second mark, and then for joining that up, you get your third mark. On the grid below, draw the graph of y equals 2x subtract 3 for values of x from -2 to 4. Now to get 1 mark, I'm going to draw a table of values. And I'm actually going to start from 0 and not -2, but you'll see why that's okay. And I'm going to go from 0 to 4. Now I'm going to work out the y values when I have these specific x values. 2 multiplied by 0 is 0, subtract 3 is negative 3. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2, subtract 3 is negative 1. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, subtract 3 is 1. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, subtract 3 is 3. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8 and subtract 3 is 5. Now I can look at each one of these as coordinates. So this is 0, negative 3, 1, negative 1, 2, 1, 3, 3, and 4, 5. So now I need to go ahead and plot those points. 0, negative 3, 1, negative 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 3, 4 and 5. I now have 2 marks. Then I need to join it up with a ruler. Notice I haven't done it up to negative 2, so I could look at the pattern created and I should be able to work out that it's over here, so negative 1, negative 5, and the other one would end up at negative 2, negative 7. I still only have 2 marks. Now I need to get out my ruler and join this up accurately. Yours, of course, will be far more accurate compared to mine because you should be using a ruler. If you do not join these points up all the way across, you won't get the 3rd mark. Hannah is planning a day trip for 195 students. She asks a sample of 30 students where they want to go. Each student chooses one place. The table shows information about her results. Work out how many of the 195 students you think will want to go to the theme park. So we've got 2 headings, sample and population. In the sample, there are 30 students, and in the population, there are 195. In the sample, 10 of the students choose to go to the theme park. How do we go from 30 down to 10? We need to divide by 3. So we do the same on this side. We divide by 3 and we get an answer of 65. So for showing this method, you would get 1 mark. For writing 65, you would get the 2nd mark. State any assumption you made and explain how this may affect your answer. So we need to say here, the sample is representative of the population. Otherwise, more or less students would choose theme park. In these questions, it's all about saying that the sample is representative of the population. A container is in the shape of a cuboid. The container is 2/3 full of water. A cup holds 275 milliliters of water. What is the greatest number of cups that can be completely filled with water from the container? Step 1, we need to work out the volume of the cuboid. The question says that the container is full of water, and that means volume. For volume of a cuboid, we need to do the cross-section area multiplied by the length. In this one, the cross-section is 30 multiplied by 19, multiplied by the length, which is 6. That gives us 3,420 cubic centimeters. That's 1 mark. For step 2, we need to work out how much of the container is full of water. So we now need to do 2/3 of 3,420. And for that, we need to do 3,420 divided by 3 to get 1/3 and then multiplied by 2. We now have 2,280 cubic centimeters full of water. It is worth remembering 1 cubic centimeter is equal to 1 milliliter. So in other words, we have 2,280 milliliters of water. We have 2 marks. For our third mark, we need to know the number of cups of water. So now we need to do 2,280 divided by 275. When doing that, we get 8.2909 and it goes on. We have 3 marks now. The question said, what is the greatest number of cups that can be completely filled? Completely filled would be 8 cups, and that there is our 4th mark. ABC is a right-angled triangle. Calculate the length of AB. Give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. I'm going to put an X over here for AB. I am working with 2 lengths and an angle, which means this must be trigonometry. For trigonometry, we have specific labels. This X will be labelled as opposite, and this 16 would be labelled as hypotenuse. The triangle that has opposite and hypotenuse is SO. I am working out the opposite, so I'm going to cross out O. That leaves me with opposite is equal to sine theta multiplied by hypotenuse. At the moment, I don't have any marks. This is just for your understanding. What I will write now is X equals sine in brackets 38 multiplied then by 16. Now I have 1 mark. Type that into your calculator. Remember to use brackets, and it comes out as 9.8505 and so on. The question does say 2 decimal places, so you would say 9.85 centimeters, and that will get you 2 marks. Sally used her calculator to work out the value of a number y. The answer on her calculator display began with 8.3. Complete the error interval for y. If it says the word began, that means it's been truncated. That means the number starts with 8.3. It could go up to anything from 8.3 to 8.399999. The quicker way to write that then is to say that y is less than but not equal to 8.4. To get the marks here, you need to have the 8.3 on the left side and the 8.4 on the right hand side. 1 mark for each number in the correct place. £360 is shared between Abby, Ben, Chloe and Dinesh. The ratio of the amount of money Abby gets to the amount Ben gets is 2:7. Chloe and Dinesh each get 1.5 times the amount Abby gets. Work out the amount of money that Ben gets. I'm going to start by writing out A, B, C and D. Because we're sharing an amount, we know we need a total. We know that Abby to Ben is 2:7. We're told Chloe and Dinesh each get 1.5 times the amount Abby gets. So we need to do 1.5 multiplied by 2, and then we get 3 and 3. We now have 1 mark so far. To work out the total shares or the total parts altogether, add them up and we've got 15. So far we have 2 marks. We are sharing out a total of £360. So we need to work out 15 multiplied by what is 360. We can do that on the side, we can do that on our calculators. 360 divided by 15 is equal to 24. Therefore, 15 multiplied by 24 is 360. By writing multiply by 24 under the 7 or under Ben, we get a 3rd mark. Then, for saying that it's 168, we get our final 4th mark. Write 0.00562 in standard form. Now it's important to remember that standard form is always a multiplied by 10 to the power of n, where a is more than or equal to 1 but less than 10, so 9.99 something, that's fine. So in our case it's going to be 5.62 multiplied by 10 to the power of a negative number, as this is a very small number. With this, the trick is to count the zeros, 1, 2, and 3, so the power is negative 3. And that is your 1 mark answer. That's all you need to write for 1 mark. Write 1.452 times 10 to the power of 3 as an ordinary number. So if I just write the beginning part, I'm going to add a few zeros in case I need them. I'm multiplying by 10 to the power of 3. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3. So the decimal point is over here. That means the answer is 1,452. You can say 0.0, it's not needed at all, and you would get 1 mark for writing this answer. Here are the first 5 terms of a Fibonacci sequence: 3, 3, 6, 9, 15. Write down the next 2 terms of the sequence. They are testing to see if you know that Fibonacci means add the 2 previous terms. So in this case, you need to do 9 add 15 to get 24, and then 15 add 24 to get 39. What they're looking for is both of these numbers. You don't need any method. The first 3 terms of a different Fibonacci sequence are A, 2A. Find the 6th term of this sequence. So we need to show method here as it's 2 marks. The 4th term would be A add 2A to give us 3A. The 5th term would be 2A add 3A to get us 5A. And the 6th term would be 3A add 5A to get 8A. You get 1 mark for saying 8A and the other mark for showing how you got 8A. Here are 2 vectors. A is 4, 5, B is 3, 2. Work out A, subtract 2B as a column vector. For the first mark, you need to write 4, 5, subtract 2 lots of 3, 2. That is fine as a method mark, or you can write 4, subtract 6, and 5, subtract 4. Either one of these lines would get you 1 mark. For the final mark, you need to say -2, 1, again written as a vector, and that would get you your 2nd mark. Remember to show your method. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day.